All right, well, it's great to get an opportunity to talk to everybody about South Coast Rail. Fall River is extremely excited about this adventure. It's been 20 years in making, if not longer. And a lot of people who've been in office a little bit longer than I have, from our local delegation to the governor, to the lieutenant governor, and obviously all the people on the ground now from the Massachusetts Bay Transit Authority are getting this done, and they worked for an extreme long time. You see areas along North Main Street being cleared. You see what's going to be the first steps towards getting a train station set up right on the Wall Street. And when it's done and rolling, it's going to be a great catalyst for economic growth. Will come into the South Coast to make a home, attend our schools, go to our restaurants. It's win-win-win the whole way through, and we really appreciate you taking the time to include us in this tonight.
Thanks very much, Mayor Cogan. Thanks so much for joining us this evening. And we are going to hear more about construction tonight, but first I'd like to introduce Jennifer Tabigan, who is the program manager for South Coast Rail, who also wants to welcome you this evening. Jennifer?
Thank you, Nancy, and thank you, Mayor Coogan. We are very excited to be here this evening to provide information to you and community on South Coast Rail, which is coming to Fall River, as you know. So congratulations and thank you to all who have worked on this program over the past 20 years to get us to this point. It's a major vote of confidence in Fall River and the area to have this level of $1 billion investment in public transportation, which will no doubt help businesses, the local economy, communities, and people being able to access jobs and regional amenities and healthcare in the area. So congratulations, it's a huge achievement. Tonight we have a team of the South Coast Rail experts, many who have been working on this for many, many years, and several who have joined recently and brought their expertise. We're going to talk tonight about a couple of things. First, we're going to introduce the Phase 1 work and locations so that you get an idea of what's going on and what's happening in your area. We're going to describe the construction taking place. We're going to be doing a look ahead to the next 2 months. And then we're going to take time for questions and answers, also orientate everybody to the webpage and other areas where you can continue to keep in touch with the program. So Nancy, I think I turn it back to you at this point.
Yes, Jennifer, thanks very much.
Thank you.
And on the screen right now, you'll see a reminder of how to ask a question or make a comment later. I'll go through this slide again when we get to the Q&A. If you are having any technical issues besides us, you can call 508-443-4045. And we have someone available to answer questions and hopefully help you out. When we do get to the Q&A, those who speak Spanish or Portuguese must raise your hands to provide comments or questions verbally for the interpreters to hear you. That having said all that, thanks so much for your patience. And I'm going to introduce the team members who are presenting tonight. Many of you I know Jean Fox, our Director of Community Engagement. Mike Fitzgerald is a Deputy Program Manager. He'll talk a lot about the construction. Mike Stiller is a licensed site professional. Bob Campbell is the Director of Design Administration. And we have several other team members with us, as Jennifer said, and they'll introduce themselves if or as they participate in the public discussion. With no further ado, Jean, would you like to kick us off?
I would love to. May I have the next slide? There we go. I wanted to, first of all, thank you all for attending tonight. We're very grateful to have, I think, what it looks to be a very robust audience out there, and certainly having the mayor here is also wonderful. We are super excited about Phase 1. We know that you've already seen some of the activities, but I wanted to give you just a brief overview of where we are status-wise. The Phase 1 service is planned to be operational by the end of 2023, and it is fully funded in our capital investment plan. The Fall River Secondary Construction Package was awarded to Skanska DW White, which is a joint venture, and that was for $159 million. Then we also have the other side, the Middleborough Secondary New Bedford Mainline and Systems contract. That was awarded to SCR Constructors, which is a joint venture of Middlesex and Tudor Perini. The amount of that contract was $403.5 million. Construction is underway on both lines and will be ramping up even more very shortly as we see spring approaching. We've done a lot of early action work in advance of this, which includes 46 culverts, a number of railroad bridges. We ordered special track. We've done some demo, which you in Fall River also witnessed. So we've been very, very busy. Next slide, please. So these two maps give you the general overview and then more of the snapshot view of what phase 1 is. We are extending service from the existing Middleborough service that ends currently in Lakeville, across the Middleborough secondary line and down to Taunton, Fall River, and New Bedford. That's your left-hand image showing you how that connection is made. The snapshot shows you in more detail what we're doing in terms of the phase 1, adding a number of stations and 2 layover facilities. Next slide, please. So the stations and layovers are for Fall River. We have the Weaver's Cove layover, and we also have the station, the Fall River Depot. And then not far over the line is the Freetown station in Assonet. Weaver's Cove and the depot are 1.5 miles apart, and the Freetown station and the Fall River Depot station are 5.7 miles apart. So we're not talking a huge geographical area. Next slide, please. So in the Fall River, the locations of these stations vis-a-vis everything else, you'll see we've got a number of bridges, including the Farm Road Bridge, Collins Street, Ashley, Weaver's Cove layovers there. And then you'll see at the bottom, Pierce Street Bridge and the Fall River Depot station. And then south of that, Turner Street Bridge. Next slide, please. So what's included in this package? We have 12.1 miles of track. We have 2 new stations, the Freetown one and the Fall River Depot, the layover facility at Weaver's Cove. We also have 10 grade crossings, but none in Fall River. We have 8 bridges and 10 culverts. Next slide, please. So I'm going to, at this point, pass it on to my colleague, Mike Fitzgerald, who's going to give you more details on construction startup. Mike?
Good evening. Thank you, Jean, for that nice introduction. My name is Mike Fitzgerald. I am the Deputy Program Manager for South Coast Rail. I'm going to give you an update on where we are with construction at this moment, and also where we're going to be going over the next few months. So currently, we are doing survey work along the right-of-way. We've identified some encroachments that are on the MBTA property, such as fences, landscaping, some sheds. The abutters have been notified of those encroachments, and we've been working with them all along to remedy those. Recently, we sent out notices to the abutters to let them know of the active work that's going on along the right-of-way, which includes clearing and grubbing of plantings and trees. We published those notifications in the local newspapers, Fall River and New Bedford, and also the Taunton Gazette. As always, our South Coast Rail team, they are available for questions and are willing to go on site to make visits if abutters do have questions or concerns. And like this meeting tonight, we regularly meet monthly meetings with the city department leaders and keep them apprised of what we're doing out in Fall River. Next slide, please. I just want you to give you a little bit update of what we're doing out there for construction. Our typical hours, 7 to 7. That'll start up actually next week with the sunlight. As we move towards spring, we get a little more daylight. We're able to expand our hours to get this work done. Some of the work is construction and pest and rodent control. That's required and is ongoing at multiple locations, the Fall River Depot station, Weaver's Cove, also the Freetown station. The dust control and management of that are required, and our field staff and our environmental inspectors are consistently monitoring that and making sure that we are following, and the contractor is following the requirements. And lastly, all of our contractors and site personnel are complying with the health and safety regulations regarding COVID-19. Next slide, please. This gives a little bit of an idea of the work that's occurring, not shown on the screen, but just to give you an update at Weaver's Cove, which is our layover facility in Fall River. We'll be doing earthwork, utility work, installation of water and sewer, and also some drainage piping. The pictures that are shown on this screen are at the Fall River Depot Station, where we're currently installing micropiles, which will support the station foundation. That picture is located on the right-hand side. And then on the lower side is the building of a stormwater detention tank. At both of those locations are at the Fall River Depot Station. Next slide, please. Now, the next couple slides, I'm going to go through a few pictures. These are nice construction photos, so you can see the work that's ongoing. On the left-hand side are the marine sheet piles that are being installed. Also on the top, that's on the left-hand side, and also on the top right-hand side. That'll support the construction as we move through. Down on the lower right-hand side is a hydrant installation at our Weaver's Cove facility. There's that work and a lot of other underground utility work that's occurring at Weaver's Cove currently. Next slide, please. Another view here is the clearing and the grubbing on the left-hand side of any brush or trees along the right-of-way. That's in order to keep the track safe for our passengers and also for our employees in the future when we run service. On the right-hand side is just a snapshot of Campanelli Yard. We have a facility where we're able to store material before we bring it out onto the right-of-way. That picture right there is some length of 80-foot rail that will be delivered out along the right-of-way when we start doing construction. I should say that phase of construction. Again, on the left-hand side, another picture of the machine that's used to install those sheet piles along the right-of-way. And then on the right-hand side, more of an up-close look. We talked a little bit earlier about Fall River Depot and the micro piles. So that's just a picture of the machine that installs those piles that, again, will support the station foundation. Next slide, please. On the left-hand side, that's our erosion control. That's a requirement as part of the contract. So that's them installing that along the right-of-way. And on the right-hand side, that's offloading of actually 1,600-foot stringers or rail. That rail's being delivered to us on a rail car. And then that comes down the right-of-way, and we're able to slide that rail off in different locations along the right-of-way. Makes it a lot easier for us, much more efficient to be delivering the rail on rail and leave it on the right-of-way, so when we're prepared to swap out the rail from this newer rail for the older rail that's out there right now, it's already laying there in place. Next slide, please. I want to give you an update on just some traffic impacts that you may see over the next year. Some short-term traffic impacts and lane shifts can be expected at locations at Pierce Street, around the Fall River Depot and Weaver's Cove location. Also at the Farm Road Bridge, which will be accessed via Horizon Way. There's a culvert that'll be replaced and a bridge that'll be replaced right in that location. We'll also be doing some reconstruction of the Pierce Street, Turner Street, Collins Street bridges, and that may require some road closures and some detours when we do that work. Just to let everyone know that all of the above traffic management plans will be coordinated with the city prior to them being implemented. In addition, just wanted to let folks know that you may see vehicles entering the right-of-way construction access at Terry Lane, and then also you may see some short-term ones at Corey Street and Alton Street. Next slide, please. So what's coming up in the next 2 months? Besides all the work that we discussed, we're going to be installing underground drainage structures, pipes and manholes, relocating overhead power poles and lines at the Weaver's Cove Layover Facility. Down at Fall River Depot, we'll continue to install micropiles and pile caps for the station. Up at Freetown, we'll continue installing drill piles. And along the right-of-way, you'll see us constructing those retaining walls adjacent to the track and installing the sheet pile and drill piles. And all along various locations of the right-of-way, you'll see us continue with the tree clearing and the grubbing, and also the continuation of installing those erosion controls. Next slide, please. So I think I'm going to now turn it back over to Jean, and she'll continue the presentation from here.
Thanks, Mike. I wanted to give you a little bit more information on what you'll see at the station, the depot station. So again, it's located at Route 79 and Duval Street, and it's right near where the old historic Fall River Station once lived. It includes a 730-foot high-level side platform and 2 canopies, and those are between Turner and Pierce. I just want to add that the high platform means you can get on or off the train from any car. It includes 220 vehicular parking places, 22 bicycle spaces, accessible parking, and electric vehicle charging spaces. We also have a very clear accessible area for drop-off and pickup, and bus drop-off on North Main. It also features covered benches, fare validators, trash and recycling, and storage and utility. Next slide, please. This is a rendering of what you can expect to see at the depot. So you see the platform there, there's signage, the canopies are there. They're fully accessible, so you'll see ramps, you'll see stairs. The drop-off area, it should get people close enough to not have to walk too far to the platform. And if the weather ever gets like that, it'd be great to sit on the wall and look out at people. Next slide, please. So this is a basic station layout. It's sort of L-shaped. It goes around near where the big medical building is. It is accessible on several locations. And again, accommodates 220 parking spaces. Next slide, please. So the layover facility, which is where trains begin their day and end their day, consists of 6 sets of tracks. It has a crew building with crew parking and a secured area, so it's crew parking only, and it's right off North Main Street. Next slide, please. It's at 2680 North Main Street. That's its exact address. So it's right next to the Fall River secondary line, but that's the main line serving the city of Fall River. Again, the trains will store there overnight between the last trip at the end of each night and the first trip the following day. And what is conducted at a layover facility is cleaning, fueling, and light maintenance. No major maintenance is conducted at this area, and the trains do not run at night. In the wintertime, they'd be plugged in to stay warm. Crew quarters and parking there, no neighborhood parking, and again, it is fenced and secured with a locked emergency exit. Next slide, please. So the diesel trains will start and end again at the layover. You will hear engine noise when they depart and arrive. We don't have any horns sounding there unless there happen to be people working on or near the tracks. And while only light maintenance does occur here, you can hear some residual noise occasionally from these activities, even the fueling activity you may hear. That should not be very disruptive. And when trains do come in at the end of the day, again, we turn the engines off. In the cold, cold months, the diesel engines do require warming so they can get plugged into a 480 kilo, whatever that is, power source to keep the engines warm so they can start up the next day flawlessly. I believe at this point, I'm calling on Mike Stiller to continue.
Yes, thanks, Jean. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about the environmental aspects of the construction at Weaver's Cove and Fall River Depot Station. I'm really focusing on some questions that have come in recently. So the first subject focuses dust control. Certainly the Weaver's Cove site is a very large site. There's a lot of earthwork going on. So we recognize the importance of dust control for the program at that site. Also, Fall River Depot Station is now undergoing quite a bit of earthwork for anybody that's been by there. Dust control at that site similarly is very important. We focus a lot on it. There's a few techniques shown there in the top 3 bullets that we use to control dust, whether it's water trucks or stabilizer, hydroseed, compacting, smooth rolling earthwork surfaces. Certainly water trucks, we try not to use those when below freezing conditions because they create a problem as opposed to solve a problem. But there's a number of techniques that we use. Similarly, we have perimeter erosion controls established around both the layover facility site and the station site, as well as the work that we're doing within the right-of-way. And a variety of different techniques we use and mechanisms depending on the location, whether it's silt fences or hay bales or compost filter tubes or combinations thereof. We have tracking pads at the site exits to further limit truck tire tracking of mud onto the roadways. Certainly during the recent weather, sometimes that's challenging. So we do have street sweeping on North Main Street to clean up and anything that does unfortunately get out onto the roadway. We make every effort to make sure it doesn't get out onto the roadways, but sometimes it does. And we do make it a strong effort to clean that up quickly when it does. The other aspect of dust control is dust monitoring. So we've got active units present at both Weaver's Cove Layover Facility and Fall River Depot Station. These are continuous air sampling units. They've been deployed since the earthwork started, and they continue to collect data on a daily basis. And we use that information to confirm the strategy is successful, and in some cases to direct some focus controls if necessary. And that monitoring will continue, as well as the dust control will continue. Certainly we recognize we're getting into spring and summer, and the dust control is going to absolutely be very important and will become important very quickly. In fact, even today I had a conversation with somebody in the field. Even with the snow and the melt, we know we know dust can come very quickly, so we try to really be on top of it. So next slide, please. Another question that came in, and some questions really, with regards to the Weaver's Cove Layover Facility soils. That site is a portion of the former Shell oil terminal, which has been sampled extensively and remediated over the past decades by Shell. But importantly, MBTA, when they acquired the eastern portion of the Shell oil terminal for the Weaver's Cove Layover Facility, basically between the tracks in North Main Street, there was some extensive sampling and analysis done by MBTA as well to verify current existing conditions. There is residual soil contamination from the Shell terminal site uses, as well as some of the other former uses of that property. We're aware of that. That contamination is still present at depth significantly 20 to 25 feet below ground surface. So the construction that we're doing is not going to encounter those contaminated soils. All of our construction's above that level, that depth. But we have removed old tanks, debris during the construction. All of that has been disposed off-site at permitted and licensed facilities. All of the soils that come into the site for construction are tested. And then we've also got a plan on file with DEP for this construction, recognizing its construction on a contaminated parcel. That's called a Release Abatement Measure Plan, a RAM plan. That's on file with DEP at the link that's shown at the bottom of the screen there. We also have RAM status reports that we continue to file during the construction, and will continue to do so to document our observations, our continuous monitoring during the earthwork at that site. And similarly, I've talked about the Weaver's Cove layover on this site, on this slide, but the Fall River Depot Station site is also a listed contaminated site with DEP. And similarly, it's got historic uses for petroleum. It's got petroleum contamination present at depth, similarly around 20 to 25 feet below ground. And similarly, we're filing RAM plans, RAM status reports for that site as well, which can also be found on DEP's website. So at this point, I will turn it over to, I think, Bob Campbell.
Thanks, Mike. I'm Bob Campbell. I'm the Director of Design Administration for South Coast Rail. Along with the two major construction contracts that are going on right now, we still have some work that's under design, and it's on off-site traffic mitigation. As I said, they're under design now. We're coordinating with the city on what the improvements will be. They'll be going out to bid by the end of 2021, and it'll be constructed in 2022. The two locations where we have off-site mitigation are President Ave at North Main Street, where we'll be adding left turn lanes in North Main Street, a new traffic signal system, new sidewalks, and ADA compliant curb ramps. We'll also be doing similar work at President Ave at North Duval Street, where there'll be new pedestrian signals, new sidewalks, ADA compliant curb ramps, and improved timing for pedestrian crossings. Now, one of the things that I'm sure a lot of people in Fall River are anxiously looking forward to is the Route 79 project. So during our design process, and we will be coordinating with the MassDOT team that's doing the Route 79 design projects. And depending on how things shake out, we might not end up doing the President Abbott North to Wall Street part of the work because it may be incorporated into the Route 79 project. So we don't want to put something in brand new there and then have it be obsolete and ripped out immediately thereafter. So as I said, during our design, we will continue to coordinate, and we'll see how much of that work at North of Wall Street ends up being done by South Coast Rail. I'm going to turn this back over to Jean Fox for the next slide. Thank you.
Thank you. This is our phase 1 construction schedule schematic. It's very colorful. It shows you that we've acquired the properties we need. We've done a lot of, I mentioned them earlier, early action projects, the demo contract among them, the special track work. We're just about done receiving delivery of that. And you can see on the Fall River secondary contract, scheduled right now to be complete by the end of the calendar year 22. But the New Bedford contract does incorporate all of the signals. So that includes positive train control, all the dispatch, all the signal work. So they'll be coming back in. You're not off the hook, Fall River. You're going to be seeing additional activity then. But the lion's share of the construction will be behind you. And our service goal is late 2023. Next slide, please. So please, please, please sign up for the weekly construction updates. We try to keep them succinct. What they do is they spell out where work is going to be happening, the days and times that work will be happening. It gives you our contact information if you need it. Basically a weekly, usually Tuesday to Wednesday, update on everything that's going on with the project. And as I mentioned earlier, we do anticipate a lot of activity. You heard from Mike Fitzgerald, the next 2 months, great deal of activity. So these you'll find very helpful. You can sign up at mass.gov/South Coast Rail or mbta.com project South Coast Rail. But I'll tell you what, you Google South Coast Rail and you will land there. Next slide, please. So to report a construction related issue on the South Coast Rail project, we have a hotline. That number is 774-762-7000. I'm going to add a little wrinkle. That number will be changing on Monday. If you're signed up for the e-blasts, you will know about it, but we'll also post it prominently on the website. So you'll know exactly what that number is. It's a 222 number, which is a classic T MBTA exchange. And it will be for all of the contracts. So it will cover you folks in the Fall River area, as well as New Bedford and Middleborough. So we answer those calls live between 7 a.m. and 3:30, no holidays. Anything that's left on the voicemail box after that, we get to the following day. We pride ourselves on promptly responding to folks. We are always available to meet with residents, businesses, and elected officials during construction to discuss any issues and to update folks. We've had a number of those with people in Fall River, and we expect to continue doing that. Certainly any issue that comes up, again, we want to be responsive. We have monthly stakeholder meetings with some key city officials. All of those will continue, but please feel free to reach out to us with any issues, concerns, or other information required. Next slide, please. So how to follow us. Do visit the project website. We do update it regularly. And again, there's so much going on that you can count on it being updated regularly. That's at mass.gov/South Coast Rail. Do continue to participate in these virtual meetings. We're having them in a number of communities, and it doesn't mean it's a one and done. We're happy to come back when you folks feel there's a need, whenever anyone feels it's time to update, or when we even feel like there's a lot going on, we want to see if Fall River wants to hear from us again. We're happy to do that. And any comments that you have, please feel free to reach out to South Coast Rail at construction.state.ma.us. And again, that construction hotline number is great for a couple more days, 774-762-7000, but we will update you as soon as we can with the new number once it's live. Next slide, please. So this is, I'm turning this back over to Nancy, our facilitator. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Jean, and thank you, presenters. And I'm sorry we're running a little later than we anticipated, but you know, technology. So let me remind you 3 ways to participate. You can put a question in the Q&A at the bottom of the screen. You can use the raise hand option, or if you're on the phone, you can hit *9. And I am going to ask first if there are any of the elected officials I see on the list who'd like to make a comment or question. I will remind everyone to please, we will only share or deal with 1 question or comment at a time. If we have time at the end of the meeting and everyone's had a chance to ask a question, we'll go back. But otherwise, really feel free to send us your comments at the address that Jean shared, and we'll show you that again. So I know I saw Senator Roderick. I don't know, Senator, if you'd like to make a comment or ask a question, we can unmute you.
Good afternoon, good evening. Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Well, thank you very much. That was a tremendous presentation. You know, I joke, anybody that visits me at the State House knows that I have not 1, but 2 groundbreaking shovels. The first of which was given to me by then Governor Paul Cellucci in October of 1998. And so for me, this is very exciting because this project is no longer a dream, but it's a reality. And I want to thank the entire team, from Jennifer to Jean to the entire team that is always available and accessible, willing to meet with constituents, willing to always answering questions. So thank you very much. Yeah, let's go. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Senator. Thanks for your support. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
I saw Rep. Fiola. Would you like to talk? I think Emily will unmute you. My colleague, Emily Kristen, is doing the hard work here.
Rep. Fiola, do you mind pressing the raise hand button so I can, oh, actually, never mind. I see you. Oh, and you raised your hand. Well done. Give me 1 moment, please. Oh, it went away. Sorry. Should be able to speak now. Thank you.
Hi, Emily. Hi, Jean. Hi, everyone. Nancy.
Hello.
And
Hi.
everyone who's on tonight. Unlike the senator, who I enjoy so much working with, I don't have as many shovels as he does, but we've all been, everybody on this line who is from the area has been waiting, not 20, but closer to 30 years of expectation. And now the work is begun. Reality has set in. And so I just want to echo the senator in thanking the team who is making this happen. You know, we feel a little protective with this project, everyone on here, because it's our community. And I just know it's in great hands with all of you. Jean, you've always made yourself available. And that is really important as these questions come in. You know, we saw it with the Braga Bridge project. We see it with every new construction project and nothing is of such magnitude, but there's disruption. And it's how you handle that disruption. And so we continue to count on you. We know we will, to address the issues. You're as transparent as possible. And again, 2023 is literally around the corner. So we look forward to getting on that train and continue to see such great progress.
Thanks very much, Representative. I see Representative Sylvia, and I'm going to unmute you in case you would like to say something.
Sure.
We can hear you, sir.
Happy. Am I okay now?
Yes, you are. Go ahead.
Am I on?
Yes, you are.
I'm very happy. No.
I'm sorry, you're fading in and out a little bit.
Very happy Yeah.
I'm sorry, your sound's not very good,
So,
Representative.
and, for what you go the presentation. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Mayor Coogan, did you want to have a question or anything before we
Very
open up?
That was a great presentation. It was very clear and concise, and it's nice to see the projected finished pictures again. That's what keeps me going. I think it's going to be a real asset, and look forward to working with you. Anything we can do down the stretch to get this done would be great.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor, for joining us. I see that Dana Hanson is here from Congressman Auchincloss's office. Dana, would you like to just introduce yourself? And I'm looking for her. Yes?
I unmuted you. You should be able to speak if you accept.
Hello, was somebody trying to unmute me?
Yes, just so you could say hello. Nope. All right. All right. Well, thank you for joining us this evening. And are there any other elected officials who are present who want to speak? We would invite you to do so. Raise your hand now. And if not, we'll go to the public, members of the public. All right, so I'll start with some of the Q&A and we'll go back and forth. Again, try to get in as many questions as we can. And let's see. So the first question I see is from Diane, and she's asking, what are we referring to in right of way? Is it basically either side of the tracks? Mike, can you answer that question?
Yes, so it's the property that is on either side, left or right of the track, depending on which direction that you're heading. So that's what's referred to as the right of way. It's the property that the MBTA owns.
All right, great. Thank you, Mike. Diane has another question, and I think this matters to a lot of people. So I'll take two from Diane. Encroachment is not sure of the meaning of the term. And Mike, maybe you can describe what an encroachment is.
Yeah, so over time, as our staff has gone out onto the right of way, they have found that maybe there was a fence line that might have been moved on to the MBTA's property close to the tracks, or maybe there was some sheds or things like that that may have come up over time that they have been working with the homeowners in those areas to try and move those out of the way. I know they've done a lot of work leading up to tonight's meeting and over the past couple of years, and they've met with a lot of the different constituents in the area to try to resolve any of these concerns or issues.
Thank you, Mike. And if anyone has questions about their property or other encroachments, you can write us at southcoastrail@dot.state.ma.us. We'll answer. We can provide you with diagrams and answer any questions you have. So I encourage you to use that offer. Rick is asking, will the ground power stations and locomotives be stationed at the south end of Weaver's Cove? And Mike, can you answer that one, or Mike Stiller?
I am not sure. I don't know if I have that answer. I'm not sure if that's a...
Ken, is that one that you could answer?
Sure. At the layover station yard, the plugins, we call them, and the locomotives are oriented to the south end of the yard itself. And I believe the closest point to the nearest house for the locomotive will be somewhere over 300 to 350 feet away.
All right, thank you, Ken. Thanks for that. Okay, we have another question about power from Stefan Wunsch. Is the existing electrical infrastructure capacity in the Weaver's Cove neighborhood sufficient to also power 6 trains overnight needs, or will there be work done by National Grid to upgrade the area capacity? If upgrades are needed, is there any expectation of electrical outages as the work is performed? Ken, are we coming back to you?
So there will be no outages or disruptions to power service. We've worked with National Grid. We have a will serve letter from them, Typically, it shows that they have the capacity to supply the layover yard with the power that we need. There is a lot of equipment that goes into a layover yard on the electrical side to power everything that's there. But we'll be just taking a service drop off of North Main Street into the layover yard and working from there with our equipment.
And we've just put up a map, Ken, which I guess shows, you could probably describe where the
Sure.
tower is going to be.
If you look just bottom left, that bottom red arrow is pointing at the crew building.
Mm-hmm.
If you continue that line of sight to the left, you'll see a bunch of little square boxes.
Mm-hmm.
That's our power substation area. And that's where we have a lot of equipment for compressors, transformers, generators that will operate the facility.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. We have another question from Brian about, are all parking spaces surface parking? Will footings be installed so that if demand exceeds the supply of parking spaces, a deck could be added? And I think, Jennifer, you were going to answer this question.
Yes, I'm going to take that question because I understand there's been a lot of questions about parking in the area. So the existing parking lot that we're designing for the to be adjacent to the station is surface level, and we aren't putting any foundation in for a second level. However, I know that there's been questions about that. Could it actually be done? And yes, nothing precludes that in the future, if there's interest to having an additional level or a parking garage structure over that parcel, that is technically able to be done. But our plan for South Coast Rail is the surface level parking and the parking lot. And we need to make sure that those spaces are dedicated to the riders who are going to be riding the train.
Thanks, Jennifer. We have another question about where retaining walls are being constructed. Are they near homes abutting the tracks? Now, Mike, I think there's a difference between retaining walls and other kind of walls. So perhaps you can talk to us about that.
I think in the presentation, we showed the pictures of the machinery that's installing what will be for the retaining walls along the right of way. And it's just beyond the track. Let's see if we can show it there. You can see the piece of equipment there, that slide right there. So you can see the piece of equipment there that's installing those sheet piles. So it's not a great distance away from the track itself, the center line of the track. And so that's used to help, retain any of the soil that's going to be surrounding and the ballast that's going to be surrounding the track. So certainly there will be some locations as we're going by homes that these retaining walls will be going in. I don't know the exact height or anything like that. I'm sure if Ken, if you've got some additional information as far as what the retaining walls that this Diane may be referring to or asking about.
Yeah, they're in various locations up and down the Fall River Secondary. There are retaining walls like this going in Fall River, over by the Taunton River, as an example, just north of Weaver's Cove and south of the golf course. That's one example. When we get into the urban centers, we use a slightly different style of wall. It's a soldier pile, I-beam, with precast concrete lagging instead of the steel sheets. So various types. Heights are not that high. Most of the walls along the corridor are probably 6 feet or less. Very few walls are very high. It's just to hold the shoulder for track operation safety adjacent to the track and to avoid wetland impacts in the design.
And just to make sure everyone understands, there will be separate fencing along the right of way in many places. And that's very different from this, right?
That's correct.
Okay. Then I have a question. If I have been approached by DOT regarding my property with a map of specific footpaths, when will I be reconnected with the specifics? I believe the pandemic has pretty much stalled it as far as I can see regarding my situation. I'm not sure, Diane, that we know what specific footpaths mean, unless there's someone on the team who does. Maybe, Diane, you could write and say a little bit more in that question.
Or maybe Diane could also just write to us and
Yes.
we can pull up
Yes.
graphics for her.
Absolutely. And I see Dana Hanson from Congressman Auchincloss's office was on the phone with the congressman when we unmuted her. So Emily, maybe you could unmute Dana Hanson and she can say hello. And
Hi, Dana. Can you hear us?
Dana? All right, well,
come back.
Yeah, okay, great. We have another question about, she's just raised her hand, I think. Emily, can you try again?
I am here.
Oh, hi, Dana. Hi.
Oh, you can't hear me. I'm so sorry, everybody. My name is Dana Hanson. I work for Congressman Auchincloss. I was actually on the beginning of the call, and then he called me from DC. And when your congressman calls, you answer. Anyways, I was actually filling him in on the project. And I actually was briefing him on a terrific call I had last night for the Viva Fall River project as well. And I think that these projects, both between the South Coast Rail and the wonderful work that's being done in Fall River right now, I echo Mayor Coogan and Rep. Viola's enthusiasm for this project. This is a wonderful project, and Congressman Auchincloss is here to support and help convene stakeholders. And please count us in the mix on this wonderful project. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Dana. Okay, I have a question from Glenn who says, are there plans to protect the holding area from severe weather such as hurricanes, high water, or extreme cold or snow? And I presume that refers to Weaver's Cove. Ken or Mike, can you address that one?
Building itself is, the building that's there is being built per the current codes. So any of the coding that is due to hurricanes, or strong winds or storms, it'll meet the current codes for that. Great. As far as protecting from high water, if there happens to be high water areas, or we have a major storm, 100-year or 500-year storm, a lot of the electrical equipment is raised up so that it doesn't get impacted if there was water that came within Weaver's Cove area.
All right, great, thank you, Mike. I haven't seen any more raised hands, so now would be a good time if you have a question or a comment you'd like to share. I think I have addressed most of the Q&A, but let me just take another look. Diane will write us. Yeah. And any raised hands? Well, team, you've done such a good job. I'm not seeing any more questions. We'll wait another minute or two in case anyone has another question or a comment. And Emily, if you see anything, I don't see anything. Oh, Representative De Silva, or how often do we plan on doing these in the community? Jean, I don't know if you'd like to address that. We are certainly available to brief a neighborhood group or an organization and periodic public meetings, but Jean?
No, that's absolutely right. In fact, we've done a lot of that in Fall River. The neighborhood groups are particularly helpful because we can address neighborhood specific issues. But if anyone ever wants a meeting, just reach out to us. We're more than happy to do it. We haven't regularly scheduled update meetings, but we're happy to work with each community. Each community has its own culture and the way it rocks and rolls, and we want to work with that community so that we can get our information out in a timely and accurate manner to the extent possible.
Thanks, Jean. And Chris asked if this project will be hiring dump trucks. I'm guessing the answer is yes, but Mike, do you want to confirm that?
Well, there will be dump trucks used to bring soil in and bring soil out and other material that's needed for the project. That's all handled by the contractor who was hired by the MBTA to do that. So they would be the one that would be utilizing their own equipment or contracting that out to subcontractors to support them.
All right, great, thank you. And I do see hand up, wait, where'd it go? MC Baxt, I'm sorry, I may not be saying your name correctly. Can you unmute?
Oh, looks like the
Oh.
hand was lowered. If you'd
Okay,
like to talk, do you mind pressing raise hand again?
there we
There
go.
we go. Oh, it went away again.
You have to leave it up for for a few seconds so we can allow you to talk.
Here, I'll
There you
unmute
go.
the attendee. Hi, you should be
Okay,
able to speak.
can you hear
Yes,
me?
yes, now we
Okay.
can.
Okay, I grew up in Fall River, and I'm so old, I rode the New Haven Railroad to Boston. And I used to work for the Providence Journal, and I covered Governor Wells' press conference in 1995, which he said rail service would be restored by 1997. A quick question, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
About service, are the trains going to run on weekends? And are they going to stop at Back Bay and Ruggles?
And operations, let's see, who's going to answer an operations question on our team? Jean or Jean? should
I'm
I-
happy to address
Thank
that.
you.
So we don't do Back Bay and Ruggles with phase one. We land at South Station because we're basically taking the Middleborough line, Old Colony side of the world, and landing at South Station. The
Right.
full build, if you recall, is the one that goes up via Stoughton and Canton, and then
Right.
does right. So for phase one, this $1 billion is still connecting us nicely to downtown Boston. And in terms of service, it's difficult to say exactly when trains are going to run. The schedules can change all the time. Our plan currently is to run 3 peak period trains to each of Fall River and New Bedford morning, and again 3 in the evening, with a couple during the day. Weekend service right now is envisioned, but I ask that, you know, we look, the T is always looking at schedules and ridership, and they will tweak appropriately. But for
So
right now, we plan it.
Okay, and could you do me a favor? Could you put the map up again of the routes? It was one of your first
Oh,
slides.
yeah. Yep.
We'll do that. Takes a second.
Right. How long do you think it would take if you got on a train in Fall River to South Station? How long a ride is that in terms of time?
Sure, it's about 90 minutes.
Okay. Okay, there's that map. I want to take a picture of that.
Oh, no problem. I could actually send it to you if you want, but that's okay.
I get your weekly updates.
Oh, good. Good. Good.
And if you go to our website, there are many maps. So you're also welcome
Right.
to do that. You'll
Right.
learn more.
I'm hoping to be a distinguished guest at your dedication, since I'm about 80 years old.
And we would welcome that with open arms.
I'm going to write to you, Jean.
Okay. You know, I'm willing to listen, and I always like to respond. Thank
I know
you.
what reporters are like, and reporters will be looking that day for some old person who used to ride the trains.
Good.
That's
Good
true.
plan. Good
Thank
plan.
you.
Okay,
Thank
thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
We have a couple more questions. And this is a good one. What is a micropile? Mike, can you tell us what a micropile is?
I can, but you're probably better off asking Ken. He'll be the one.
All right, Ken.
The better explanation, but it's a drilled shaft that then would support the foundation of the station platform itself. But Ken, if you would give a little greater detail than I on.
I thought that was an excellent explanation. We have to use the micropiles because a standard spread footing foundation, which we would prefer to use, doesn't work based on the geotechnical studies that we did. So micropiles are just long stems in the ground that provide the foundation support in place of a spread footing foundation. And the platform will sit on those like a pier sits on posts in the water. But we're not in the water, obviously. But similar application.
Thank you both. Thank you. And then Mark says apologies because he missed the beginning. Did we discuss the projected fares? And Mark, we didn't, and we won't at this point. The MBTA is doing a whole fare study, is going to have a completely new system. So as we get closer to the opening of the service, I think that information will be available. So, but right now it's not part of our project responsibility. And let me see. A question about how you get your dump truck in the project, you could send us an email and we would share that information with you on how to reach the contractors. And I don't see any other hands up. If you have a question or comment, please put your hand up or I'll keep checking the Q&A.
May I add something,
Yes,
Nancy? I just
sure.
heard from Senator Rodrick that in addition to people who used to ride the train before, they might be looking for people that have old groundbreaking shovels, and he's happy to volunteer.
You can share them, right? Okay. Let's see, Rahim, I hope I've said your name correctly. We will allow you to talk. Emily, thank you. Rahim, you should be able to speak. You have to unmute yourself. Hello. Well, we'll try again.
May have been an accidental raised hand.
It may have been, yes, that does happen, yes. Let's see. It's back. So is he unmuted, Emily?
Yes, Rahim, you should be able to talk.
Oh.
Don't hear anything.
No, I don't either.
Do you want to try typing in the Q&A if you have a question?
Okay, we'll take a look. I don't see any new questions.
Hey guys,
Yes.
I'm leaving. I appreciate it. Thanks for letting me join you. That was a great presentation. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good to see you.
Thank you.
All right,
Be in
take
touch,
care.
I'm sure. Bye.
Okay,
Thanks again.
Great. Rahim, shall we try one more time? You are unmuted. Do you have a question? No, I don't. Doesn't seem to be coming through. But please, feel free to send us a question. Leo asks what kind of fencing will be done? And let's see, Mike or Ken, could you answer that question?
So there's going to be various fences depending where along the alignment. Along the right-of-way, there will be a 6-foot chain link fence, security fence. We did research with our PAL, archaeological lab, that does research on historic areas and sensitive receptors. So some of the fence will be black vinyl, but the predominant fence will be chain link galvanized fence. And in the layover yard, there's a tighter mesh security fence for safety and security reasons. And there will be fence, as you noted, Nancy, along the tops of the track retaining walls.
Okay, great, thank you. And I'm going to check one more time and see if there are any more questions that are new, or Emily, if you see any that are new, let me know. I think we've hit all in the Q&A. And so I guess everyone's either hungry or ready to go. And I think what I'm going to do is thank everyone for joining us this evening. I'm going to remind you, could we go back right here? Emily, you knew what I wanted. You can go to our website, mass.gov/South Coast Rail. Your comments come to us at South Coast Rail at dot.state.ma.us. We do, as Jean said, try to answer those as promptly as possible. Sometimes it takes us a day or two to gather the information that you need, but we really welcome your comments. And if you have any concerns, any questions about the encroachment issue or other issues, please don't hesitate to write us. I think we are going to say good evening. Thank you so much for joining us. Apologies again for our technology problem at the beginning, but we hope to see you again with fewer problems, but a lot of good answers.
Nancy,
Yes.
Oh, I will say I just saw Raheem typed a question in the Q&A right in
Okay.
time.
Just in time. Hold on 1 second then.
Oh, he says,
when will the rail be completed in New Bedford? And at the same, basically the same time. Yep. Jean,
end of 2023.
Yep. Everyone will all be riding at the same time. And we're all really looking forward to it. So thanks. I'm glad you got your question in. Thank you again so much. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Be safe. And we look forward to talking with you again. Good night.